This morning, we're joined by Mr. Michael Ansah, who is the Chief Executive Officer of GIADEC. Thank you very much for making time to join us on the Asaase Breakfast Show.
Thank you very much.
Just 3 days ago, you signed an agreement with Miscellaneous SA, a key partner bringing their expertise in metallurgy and energy and aligning with our own objectives to develop this integrated aluminium industry. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll come back to GIADEC and the work you've been doing so far.
Thank you very much, and a real pleasure to be here with you this morning. This is in follow-up to a few interviews I've done in the past. I'm glad to say each interview kind of measures the progress we're making towards achieving the excellent vision of His Excellency the President that we've been doing at GIADEC. And today, coming here off the back of the signing ceremony that we did last Friday, is opportune for us to be able to articulate, some of the things that we have done, where we are today, how we're moving forward. Your question really is around how we came to sign
with Miscellaneous.
Yeah. So GIADEC has been, if you like, following a very clearly laid out strategic plan. We started operations in March 2019, and the focus really was delivering the mandate of establishing an integrated aluminium industry. This is something that we've tried to do as a nation for well over 60 years now, and it was important that with this opportunity we stood back and took in the lessons of the past, understood where we had made progress, where we had made, if you like, mistakes, where we've had some, stop-start things, and really be able to give this, if you like, one real push to really establish this. Because the reasons why we thought about this all those 60 years ago was because we believed fundamentally that it could be the pivot around which Ghana's industrialization, could actually be fixed, and for us to be able to drive an industrial economy, create jobs, bring increase in GDP, and really build a buoyant economy, to be, if like, a leader in industrialization across Africa. So that was a real strategic move. So when we set up GIADEC, one of the things that we did from day one was to make sure that we had developed a clearly articulated vision, a clear plan, a clear mission. We came out with a strategy which was formed from a lot of discussion across all the various groups that were involved in this. So a very integrated approach right from the beginning. And that led us to build a master plan, which is the base for what we're developing. That master plan had 4 key components. We focused mainly on the upstream side of the value chain, making sure that we could integrate everything from bauxite mining, alumina refining to aluminium smelting, and to make sure that this level of value addition, this level of integration was really sound, really strong, really anchored in, if like, what were the factor advantages that we had as Ghana. You mentioned the 900 million metric tons of bauxite that we have. That is an endowment that God has given us. How do we best use this? We realized that what we lacked, fundamentally was a refinery that could link the bauxite mining to the aluminium smelting. And all the way back 60 years ago, that was one of the things that we tried to do. If you look at the enduring impact that, say, Akosombo Dam and even the building of Valco to a degree has had on Ghana's economy, especially the dam, that's the sort of thing we're talking about, something transformational and something that could be here as a real fulcrum to our economy. So everything that we've done to date has been calculated in this manner. So the 4 projects had to be based on the assets that GIADEC had. So for instance, Ghana Bauxite Company, which you refer to, we have a 20% stake. I'm glad to say today it's a wholly owned Ghanaian company. OPCL holds the other 80%. We've seen new investment into Ghana Bauxite Company. We've seen growth in Ghana Bauxite Company, development of a new mine, conveyor belt investments, surface miner coming in. These are all things that did not happen under, say, the Chinese previous owner. Then you come to that. What we want to do is to expand that mine and be able to build a refinery solution around that. The second project was the project that we signed with Rockshore International, another Ghanaian-owned company with operations across the Africa region, mainly West African region. This company is working with GIADEC to develop what we call Project 2, which is in the Ninahin in Pasaso area. We've carried out MRE there, and we're beginning to drive that project against significant find of about 375 million metric tons of bauxite. Project 3A, which we signed on Friday with Miscellaneous SA, I'm proud to say, is the integrated project. It's the project that from day one is tied to building a refinery in Ghana. Miscellaneous SA, again, is a company that has got huge experience in this area, a leading energy and metallurgical company from Europe, the leading integrated aluminium company in Europe. One that is quoted on the Athens Stock Exchange, looking for a secondary listing on the London Stock Exchange. Very strong credentials, operationally, financially, to be able to work with us. And this really was a vote of confidence in the approach that GIADEC has used to date to build this whole integrated aluminium industry. The pieces are coming together, as I said, Project 1, Project 2, and now Project 3A, which is focused on, again, Ninahin in Pasaso. The 4 hills there, that is hills 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we've worked with Miscellaneous meticulously over a protracted period, I would say. But we've ended up in a place where they have committed to this project. They've signed up to this project, and they were here. And His Excellency, the President, was there to witness the signing of Miscellaneous. So that's the purpose of this, to build this. And I think this is a real testament to the vision, the foresight of His Excellency, the President, in setting up GIADEC in the first place, to give, if you like, ourselves a chance to focus on this industry specifically and to work at it the way we have done. And the support, the direction, his personal interest that he's taken in this, to a large extent, is what has given realization to what we achieved as at last Friday.
So now that you have a partner signed, what are the next steps to realizing the vision of an integrated project?
So with this partner signed, I think, like I said, the projects need to develop, and I'm glad to say they're developing concurrently. The 4th leg of the project, which I didn't mention, is the modernization and retrofitting of our plant in Valco. Okay. So Valco today is 100% owned by GIADEC. We're working very closely with the management and board of Valco to find a strategic partner. We've received cabinet approval to do that. And that will give us a modern-day smelter that is competitive, because the smelter that we have today is uncompetitive because of aging plant and various problems that we have with it. But what we want to do is to build one that has the right technology and is competitive. So that is what we're driving towards. But in terms of your to your question, what we're looking to do now is to pull all these 4 projects together. This is a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar investment, such as we haven't seen since independence. Right. I think it's very important that people understand that. And as such, I'm always at pains to stress that it is not, this is very much a national agenda. It's very much a national program. I've spent a lot of time, and here I'll even, if you like, give a shout out to the Parliament Committee on Mines and Energy. I've worked very closely with the chairman of the committee, the ranking member of the committee, other members of the committee. We've had various presentations to them because there's a need for us to embrace this as a national project. And the committee understands that. I think other MPs and people I've spoken to across both sides of the House understand that this is a national assignment. This investment is not going to be seen, the fruits of it is not going to be seen, in 6 months or a year. It's going to take 5 years. It's the kind of thing that is generational. And we've got to focus on it and drive this to fruition. We have a clear plan. We have these 4 projects that we're running. They'll develop concurrently. The level of investment that we're looking at across all 4 projects is in the region of about $6 billion. That is significant. And that's why I say it's something that we've got to work through and make sure that we deliver on that, for future generations.
Fantastic stuff. If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Asaase Breakfast Show. Our guest in the studio is Mr. Michael Ansah, CEO of Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development corporation, GIADEC. And they have signed a deal or a partnership with Miscellaneous SA, a strategic partner, to see to the development of an integrated aluminium project. So from bauxite mining to refining to smelting, all the way through the value chain. This is what this partner is coming in to do. Now, beyond the signing, of course, you have 900 million metric tons of bauxite. In recent times, you had a mineral resource estimate, but you went into the ground and then you realized that you've actually found a little bit more than was there. What would you say was the pull for Miscellaneous to see Ghana as a worthy partner to work with?
Yeah, so I'll start with your last point about why they saw Ghana as a worthy partner to work with. I think, as a nation, we should be proud of where we are and who we are, in spite of the obvious challenges that we face. No question about that. Look across the region in West Africa. Oh, sorry. Look across the region in West Africa. There is significantly an issue with, I won't say stability, but you look across Africa, you see investors are looking for a place where the sound, rule of law applies. There is relative peace, there's stability, there is a strong democratic culture. All these things that we have as a nation are things that we should celebrate. Mm. So when investors look across where to, put their dollar in terms of investment, they look for all these things, and Ghana stands tall amongst several African nations in that respect. Guinea, across just next door, has significant bauxite resources, and of course it's attracted a lot of investment in bauxite as well. What we are doing is different in that from day one we set our stall to establish an integrated aluminium industry. We're not just interested in somebody coming here to mine our bauxite and export our bauxite. Yes, that is happening. Guinea is exporting some 80 million tons of bauxite a year. Okay, we are doing 1.5 million tons a year today. And we're forecasting with Miscellaneous, with Rockshore International, the other projects that we're doing, to reach about 10 million tons. But what we want to do is to be able to refine the bauxite in Ghana, and to be able to also use the refined alumina in our smelter in Ghana. Of course, we'll export some alumina, but at each stage of the project, we want to be seen as adding value, because that is fundamentally the raison d'etre of GIADEC. GIADEC without added value isn't what we want it to be. So the very clear mandate we have is to do that. So in bringing a company like Miscellaneous to work with us, that's the focus. The first stage of this work that we do will be to qualify the bauxite reserves that we have. So we talk of 900 million metric tons of bauxite, but this bauxite reserves that we have is really what historically has been the estimate. We've done some work in Hills 1, 2, 3. Government of Ghana gave us some money to verify the resources we had there. Various studies had happened there. Again, we found a slight appreciation on the historical reserves that we had in Hills 1, 2, 3 in Ninahin. Then we did the same with Chebi as well. Again, we found the resources that we're looking for there. And then we did Ninahin Hills 4, 5, and 6, which is the Rockshore piece of work that we did. And that was a more significant appreciation of the historical reserves. Now, all of these work is being done in line with international standards of measurement, so that when we come to the bankability of a project is based on what we call JOG certified results of the mineral resource estimates. And that's what we've done with Hills 4, 5, 6. Miscellaneous is going to do the same thing, make sure that we get the reserves properly estimated for 7, 8, 9, and 10 as the basis for going to market to raise the necessary funding that we need for the project.
Wonderful. Nanaya, this is a very exciting development. Reading about Miscellaneous, you couldn't have chosen a better partner. And one looks forward to what sort of transformation this development brings to us. And I'm sure you're wondering about a few things just as I am.
Well, yes. A prime example, it seems, of putting into action the principle of public-private partnership to bring about a major step change that allows us to go against what the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources described at the Africa Prosperity Dialogues as moving away from dig and ship, the export of just raw materials, and not seeking to get full benefit from them. In bringing on board Miscellaneous, what is their principal motive for being involved, other than obviously seeing a nice resource that they can exploit and that is commercially viable? Is there a sense of a longer-term commitment to the plans that GIADEC has to develop the full length of the value chain here in Ghana?
Yeah, very good question. I think everything you said points to the fact that we're beginning to have the right kind of conversation around these things. And the way we have approached this means that those who are coming to the table to have this conversation with us from day one understand what we want to do. We've set our stall very clearly. It's all around value addition. It's all around in keeping the value in country. It's all around building something that will give us high value, high paying jobs. It's all around doing something that will be have a transformational effect on the economy. And if you look at the studies that have been carried out, and we're soon going to be publishing one that has been done by a renowned economist, you see that the impact on GDP is significant. And we're talking over, the long-term impact on GDP and what it will do to help sustain the economy is significant. So Miscellaneous is very clearly aware of the objectives of GIADEC, the objectives of government in what we're doing. We went through a fairly lengthy but intentional selection process. We started with some 40-odd companies or so. We boiled it down to some 20. That led to the selection ultimately of Rockshaw International on the one hand, a Ghanaian company, as I said, and then of Miscellaneous. So again, we've been intentional about trying to bring in Ghanaian ownership into what we're doing. I mean, for the first time, we have a fully owned Ghanaian mine, which is Ghana Bauxite Company. The same would apply to the projects we're doing with Rockshaw. And bringing in the international expertise of Miscellaneous is something which I'm truly proud of. As Xtra mentioned, Miscellaneous has a lot of experience. They are known the world over for their work in environmentally challenged conditions. Right. Our bauxite mining occurs in forest reserves. No question about that. And GIADEC is very clear about our focus on ESG, that's environment, social, governance issues, to make sure that we are responsible in how bauxite is mined in Ghana. As such, the partner that we've chosen is somebody who's very clear about this. We're doing Project 3A because that is what's ready for us to do. So there's Project 3B, there's the Chebi development as well. But we want to make sure that we do this at the right time when all the conditions are clear, all any legal issues, etc., have been settled. So environmental husbandry is something that's very important to us, and we're making sure we focus on this as we drive this development. And Miscellaneous is at no very clear understanding of why we've selected them, what we want to achieve with them, what we want to work with them to drive and everything in that respect.
Presumably the presence of Miscellaneous in this arrangement will also assist Ghana to a certain extent at a time when perhaps it isn't as easy for most African countries to raise money on the international markets as well for this development, because would you agree that it's a Ghana-owned project, it's a Ghana-directed project, but to a certain extent it's going to rely on globalized finance?
Yes, of course. I think the sort of monies we're talking about is significant. We can't raise it all domestically. A significant portion of it will be raised externally, and so it's important that credibility, the international best practice, all the things that are required in a project of this complexity and of this sort are sort of baked into what we do. The balance sheet of Miscellaneous is such that we'll be able to raise the capital that we're looking at. There are other things that we're looking at with other companies. There's even a second refinery that I haven't talked about. We're looking for that refinery solution for the two owned Ghanaian mines. and the funding around that and all of that, is something that we have to broaden so that we can do what will help us to be able to raise the funding. So everything from, like I said, the environmental issues, everything from the demand side, so you're talking about alumina, the offtakes relating to, say, a 2 million plant alumina refinery, and the sort of companies that we are entering into partnership with to do these things will be important.
And will the heaviest investment for which GIADEC is looking be into the development of the value chain in the sense of the refinery, that key element that has been perhaps missing to date, or will it be in other aspects of the project? Where do you anticipate the biggest spend?
It will be in the refinery, I think. That's fair to say, because that is, if we're looking at the refinery solution part and the miscellaneous refinery, the two alone could be, the better part of $4 billion. The smelter upgrade that we're looking at is less than $1 billion, and then the rest is split around the mining infrastructure that we're talking about. So when I talk about $6 billion plant, that's what's plan. That's what I'm looking at. So the refinery, yes, which is the missing piece today, is something that will take a significant part of the funding.
At the mention of figures, I think I should draw Benjamin in here. Quite a substantial amount of money that will be sunk into this project. It looks to me like a game changer in the offing. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, so, from the Africa Prosperity Dialogues, one of the key conversations which was had was strategic financing and investment in infrastructure. Clearly, PPPs has been one of the mechanisms to address some of these issues. But we've had our own fair share of challenges, the build, own, operate, transfer kinds of arrangements, which, because of a party's investment, it has unfortunately resulted in some contract that we've signed on to, we having the shorter end of the stick. What are the fine details of how we are going to be benefiting as a country, GIADEC representing us in that regard? On the balance sheet of miscellaneous, these funds are going to be raised. I mean, what are the proportions? What are we going to be getting directly? Is there any equity element? Is it going to be fully owned by miscellaneous? What are the fine details of the arrangement?
Yeah, so I think I should point out very clearly that everything we're doing is private sector, in partnership with the private sector. So strong private sector-led approach, which this government, believes in. We believe that the private sector can raise the resources that we need for this sort of thing, and that's what we're working on. So we're not getting funding from the state per se for the investments that we're looking at. Of course, GIADEC has been set up by government, but the funding, the capital investment that will go into these projects will come with the arrangements that will come to with our partners. The way we've also set up GIADEC is that, like I said, we have a balance sheet. Xtra referred to ownership of a minimum stake in Ghana Bauxite Company, 100% ownership of Valco. We're leveraging these assets as we go into these transactions. We also have the 900 million metric tons of bauxite sitting with GIADEC, and that also gives us a chance to look at how we structure these arrangements such that the assets we're putting into every deal, will go to, if like, cushion how we fund our portions of it. GIADEC, by law, is required to own a minimum 30% stake in all the ventures that we establish. So everything that we do in that upstream that I've described, mining, refining, smelting, 30% minimum stake. Of course, that means we could go higher. So that means that we go into this approach with a mindset of being an equal partner or a partner to whoever we're going to business with, and that arrangement is significant, uniquely so. Today we're starting to talk about equity in various things because we dared to do so with GIADEC, and that is helping to again shape the approach that we take into these resource-owned or this resource-based type transactions that we do as a country. So GIADEC will be a player in this, will be an owner in this, will be in the boardroom, will be part of the structures, management, etc., that make the decisions for running these companies. So we're going in true partnership with our partners to deliver on these projects.
And in this specific instance, I mean, what was the percentage stake?
So the minimum stake is 30%. With yes.
So you've not closed a specific number.
No. So the 30 is the floor.
Okay.
And that's the basis of what we're doing. So 30/70 is where we're starting with miscellaneous, and that's how we do. So in the alumina solution I talked about, we're edging north of 40%, 50%. I mean that. That is big numbers, and personally, there is. It's a question of our capacity to be able to take on these responsibilities to a degree. Of course, there's also the Ghanaian private sector that can also own equity in this. So apart from GIADEC, we could find a situation where Ghanaian private sector institutions can take equity in this. We're talking to Mineral Income Investment Fund as well. So I just cite them because we're talking to them. There are other groups that we've spoken to that can take equity in some of the transactions that we're doing. So the important thing is to make sure that we're there, we have a stake in it, we create the value that is important to Ghana. And the fiscal issues that we're, or regime that we're setting up as well, is something that we shouldn't lose sight of because of the revenues that will accrue to government and to the economy as a whole. And for me, that's what's exciting as well. So the totality of what we're doing is what is significant.
Because I wanted to even touch on that. With the lithium arrangement, aside from the direct equity holding in, let's say, the lithium mines, there's also that additional shareholding in the parent company, Atlantic, Minerals. And all. So I want, beyond even the direct equity of a floor of 30%, are there any other, benefits that we are getting? Even with the Rockshore arrangement, what's the percentage royalty? Have we negotiated something beyond the normal, as we've been able to do with the lithium, for instance?
Yeah, there is what's required by law, and that's what's also will be where we land through final negotiations. We're still going through some of these things. Suffice it to say, yes, all of these elements will exist, even some like a percentage for development levy that will go to the communities. We're very passionate about making sure that what we do has an impact on the communities that we're mining in. So if you take the Hin and Pasaso areas, you take Awaso and all those things, historically we haven't done so well. We want to be able to change that kind of culture and be able to build a real partnership of trust with the communities. So all of these things are baked into the final arrangements. They are at the appropriate time. Yes, we'll be able to discuss the final details of these. But suffice to say that these things exist structurally baked into the arrangements that we're setting up, and it's something that we will all be.
Maybe you could give us an exclusive around this. In the case of the lithium, I know the final details will be coming, but we are getting the partner to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange, for instance, so that private partnership, local, can be done. Are we going to be having that?
I can give you an exclusive from a Michael Ansah perspective in terms of what I see. As we do these things, I think we should be very careful to respect the various arrangements that we have with partners and what we say and all that kind of thing. But if you ask me, where do I see GIADEC in the next 5-10 years and things? You're talking about listings and things like that. We should be able to list a company like GIADEC when everything is structured properly. We've got all the equities and various projects, etc. We know where we sit. We've built a strong balance sheet. We've raised money. We've done all the kind of things. We should be able to float it such that Ghanaian public can take ownership of this what should be a strong entity in that regard. So I see this as a potential company that can be floated on the Ghana Stock Exchange, etc. in the future, and that can be a real opportunity for not just institutions but also
the refinery or GIADEC.
GIADEC as an entity.
How about the refinery?
The projects are. How do I put it? GIADEC has stakes in these projects, and it's GIADEC that I'd like to see floated. You can't float. Yes, you can do a refinery, but what I'm saying is that the broad spectrum of GIADEC assets in mining and refining and smelting, etc. That entity, that holding company, is what I'm sure Ghanaians will be interested in holding stakes in.
Sure.
Right, it's about 7 minutes past 9, and we're talking to Mr. Michael Ansah, CEO of Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, GIADEC. And just a couple more questions before we run off. I mean, every time we talk about natural resources. I think now we've had reason to sometimes be either a little cynical or skeptical in terms of the deals that have been signed in the past and what has accrued to us by way of opportunity. How different do you see this deal, this partnership with Miscellaneous?
Let me probably put it in context. You know, we know we're going through a period. Ghana today is with the IMF, and I'm glad to say we're managing ourselves out of that situation in a very buoyant way. But there are probably four key things related to that. You know, we've talked about an expenditure issue that we have as a nation in terms of our economy. That is being addressed. The government very clearly focused on its expenditure. We're talking about revenue, you know, raising revenue that will again give us the revenues we need to run the economy. Again, a lot of steps are being taken, initiatives are being driven in that regard. But there's also the whole question of growth, okay, and how we grow this economy out of any potential crisis today or the future. And I think GIADEC or the integrated aluminium industry that we're looking at is clearly anchored on the growth side of this. So we can address expenditure, we can address debt sustainability, we can address revenue, but we need to address the question of growth. And that question of growth, GIADEC is clearly an opportunity for us as a nation. I see again from the studies that we've conducted, the impact on GDP, the impact on the economy, the impact on jobs, and the sustainability of this, which will put in billions of dollars into the Ghanaian economy. That's the kind of thing that I see, the contribution that this will make. We've come a long way to developing the plan. We've come a long way to finding partners to do this. The next steps is around the execution excellence that we must apply to this to make sure that the strategy is delivered in full and the benefits of this accrue to the Ghanaian economy in a way that will be transformational, as we've said.
Right. The other thing is that, when you look at every economy develops on a number of pillars. Ghana has always had a certain comparative advantage in terms of our natural resource endowment. And to see the vision of an integrated aluminium industry being developed is a departure from what we've done in the past. But if you would look at the key components of the pillars for growth, what would be the underpinning types of infrastructure that will create the enabling ecosystem to see this vision come to fruition?
Yeah, very good question. I think, I often take a step back and say, what are the conditions for success for what we're doing? What must exist to, give us the push to make this happen? And the more we engage with investors, the more we hear their concerns, we hear the things that they want to see. These are companies that want to put in significant amounts of capital into developing this. What I'll say is we've done a great job with certain aspects of infrastructure that will help drive this, which has given us even the opportunity to begin to have a conversation with our investors. I'll point out ports and harbors. For instance, we've been able to improve our port infrastructure today. We're able to have Cape-sized vessels that can take over 100,000 tons of bauxite in one shipment, and that is a huge vote in that infrastructure that is needed for us to be able to do what we do. So as we mine north of 2 million tons, 5 million, 10 million, we need that port infrastructure, and some development is going to happen as well to support the two projects that we're doing. Then the other one is the gas infrastructure. Again, we've engaged uniquely with Ghana Gas from day one. They are part of a power working group that we have. They've really been very supportive, made the right investments at the right time. As I speak, the gas pipelines that will feed our refineries and things up north, in the Nyenehin, Awasu areas are in place, and all we need is a location so we can do that. So again, that is great. It's given our investors a lot of confidence. the piece of infrastructure that is lagging behind significantly is railways. And I think railway is the railway infrastructure even goes beyond the integrated aluminium industry. I mean, several, whether it's manganese, whether it's cocoa, whether it's even oil products, and a whole host of stuff can be moved on these railways. I think it's singularly one of the most important pieces of infrastructure that we need. Now, if we can deliver on that railways, that is something that will again be very transformational. As far as our economy is concerned, the impact it will have will be, huge, and we'll be able to really drive, a faster pace of development across various facets of our economy. But for us in the integrated aluminium industry space, railways is singularly important, and we and our partners are really pushing hard to see this happen. And when you talk about private-public partnerships, various models that can deliver the railways, this is something that the president has been very keen on working on. We want to make sure we can drive it. So all of this fits into this whole grand vision that His Excellency has in doing this. But we have to make sure that the pieces that need to be in place to guarantee success beyond any doubt are in place, and that gives our partners also the confidence to make the reciprocal investments that we need to quicken the pace at which this can be developed.
Interesting stuff, Nanaya.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, as a rider, your board chairman, Tony Otingjesi, had recently gave the Legon University of Ghana alumni lecture, which he spoke about the successive failure of Ghanaian governments to invest long-term in the kinds of job-creating, wealth-creating ventures that would have been in the country's long-term interest, to take the kinds of bold steps that countries like Indonesia have taken, banning exports of raw nickel or cobalt, bauxite, and so on. How convinced are you that GIADEC in its current incarnation is a project that has the kind of cross-party acceptance that means that its life is ensured beyond the limitations of any kinds of political cycle?
Very, very good question. I think I alluded to that. We've spent a good amount of time having conversations with parliamentary committee, with other MPs on this, and getting a degree of consensus around what we're doing. I think all of them across both sides of the house see that this is a national project, something that they should all support. Recently, I think in the reading of the last budget or so, the chairman of the committee, on behalf of the committee, made a strong claim or strong statement to government to say, look, this is something that government should back, because of its impact on the economy as a whole. I've heard the ranking member, I've heard other members of the committee say similar things. So they are almost to a man supportive of the need to do this. Of course, there'll be differences of opinion as to the when and the how, and a few things like that. But I think broadly speaking, there is that consensus, and for me that is gratifying. So I'm quite convinced that yes, there's still work to do, but there is that increasing acceptance that this is something that we should really push to see because of the impact it has on the Ghanaian economy as a whole. And it's a long-term project, not just a short-term one party, one government type project.
I think we're focusing on long-term end goal in this. One of the critical components or drivers of a successful exploration or mining, an integrated industry such as the aluminium, would be what you talked about earlier, the ESG issues, the environmental, social, and governance excellence required to ensure that we're not depriving future generations a beautiful environment just because we have tons of the stuff underground. What are some of the critical things that you're putting in place as part of this deal to ensure that, beyond Mytilenius's own pedigree of sterling ESG track record globally, we will see that happen here in Ghana?
Yeah, so GIADEC's parent ministry, if I can call it, is the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, which includes forestry. And our minister, the Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, is very keen. Anytime we have conversations around GIADEC, etc., we talk about the environment, and we don't lose sight of that focus of environmental issues. So we are driving that part of it. GIADEC, the ministry under the leadership of the minister, conversations we have, the global conventions we belong to, mean that we should pay strong attention to this. We've made that a critical part of our process of engagement with our investors, Mytileneous being a key example, Rockshore as well, that this is something that we will not lose sight of. We want to make sure that we leave what I can really describe as a legacy of good in how we manage our environmental issues, which is why we're not rushing to mine indiscriminately or do things in an organized way. That's why we're taking our time to make sure that everything we do is under the not just auspices, but under the direction of environmental protection, EPA, or the Environmental Protection Authority. All the biodiversity hydrology studies that we have invested in and carried out, the baseline studies, are all part of this process. So we're following laid down procedures, best practices, EPA, Water Commission, Forestry Commission, all these, if you like, custodians of our environment are keenly working with us and making sure that we do the right thing. And we're also looking at international conventions. So working with Mytileneous and others, international best practice is also something that we will ensure is deeply enshrined in everything that we do.
That's such words of comfort. That should be enough to end this leg of the conversation. We certainly will be having further conversations as this project develops. Yeah. A big thank you to you.
Before I end, I also want to say, this work has been carried out by significant efforts of a number of people. We have boards of directors that support the work that we do. You mentioned Tony Otinjes, a huge experience in this area, and that's been invaluable in the advice direction that the board has given. The staff is also, uniquely placed, done a fantastic job getting us to where we are. And, I know many of you here know Kojo Yanka. He was a key member of our team. Sadly, we lost him in December. We paid tribute to him on Friday. He was GIADEC's first employee. The excellent work that he brought, the passion that he brought to everything that we do at GIADEC was very important. And I just want to use this medium to pay tribute to his work and to thank you all. You all knew him well. To thank you all for the support that you gave to that. And thank you.
Well, thankful for your time this morning, Mr. Michael Ansah, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Company.